And the Washington Post looks at a warning the United States has entered a new phase in fighting the global terror threat. Homeland Security Secretary Jay Johnson says lone wolf attackers inspired by ISIS could strike at any moment. This morning, CIA insider Mike Morell is giving us a new look at the CIA's efforts to prevent the next attack. Morell served as deputy director until his retirement in 2013. He briefed President Obama before the raid that killed Osama bin Laden. And on 9/11, Morell was traveling with President Bush when he learned of the attacks. He is now CBS News senior security contributor. His new book is The Great War of Our Time, the CIA's fight against terrorism from Al-Qaeda to ISIS. Good morning.
Charlie, it's good to be here.
Let me start with the whole business about ISIS's threat. I mean, in your sense that how big it is, and what could it be?
So I think it's growing every day. I think the statement by Jay Johnson is a reflection of that. I think what the administration is trying to do is trying to set expectations for the American people. They're basically saying there's going to be another attack, and we need to understand that when it happens.
Beyond understanding, what do we have to do?
We have to do whatever we can, right, to stop guys who went to Iraq and Syria from coming back to the United States, and we have to try to get a better handle on the self-radicalization that's taking place with these lone wolves.
And you write that they have a very effective social media campaign that we do not have, and we haven't seemed to be able to get under control with these guys.
I mean, it's Madison Avenue quality social media that's radicalizing these guys. It's very difficult to shut it down because of the nature of the internet, right? If you shut it down over here, it pops right back up over here.
But you're concerned about another 9/11 style attack, or scale attack,
right,
rather. After everything we've learned and changed after 9/11, you really think something like that scale could happen again?
So one of the things I talk about in the book, one of the key lessons of the fight against terrorists is you have to keep the pressure on them. If you keep the pressure on them, you make it very difficult for them to plot. You make it very difficult for them to plan. You make it very difficult for them to attack because they're worried about their own security. As soon as you take that pressure off, they start rebuilding. We've seen that over and over and over again. So if we don't keep the pressure on, we're going to see another 9/11 style attack. That's the main message of the book.
We want to talk about your book, The Great War of Our Time, and more about this, but also Seymour Hersh, the reporter for the New Yorker magazine, has published an article in a London publication basically saying that the Obama administration has not been clear and open with us, that there was a single unnamed source, he says the U.S. got assistance from Pakistani officials, that Osama bin Laden was held captive. He was not living there alone, and that the body was not disposed. All of these things come as a jarring sense of what we were not told. Can you tell us, is any of this true?
It's all wrong. I started reading the article last night. I got a third of the way through and I stopped because every sentence I was reading was wrong. The source that Hersh talked to has no idea what he's talking about.
You know who the source is?
I have no idea.
Okay.
But the person obviously was not close to what actually happened. The Pakistanis did not know. I talk about in the book how we actually made a decision. The president made a decision not to tell the Pakistanis. The Pakistanis were furious with us. The president sent me to Pakistan after the raid to try to start smoothing things over. Pakistanis did not know. This article is wrong.
He suggested there was a single Pakistani official that got $25 million for telling you.
Not true.
Let me turn to what's in the news also today, because the president, of course, trying to negotiate with Iran. There's a big Arab summit that's planned, and after the White House publicly saying that the king of Saudi Arabia was coming to the meeting, we learned from the Saudis that he's not coming. Is this a snub?
So I think we got to be a little bit careful with why he's not coming. It's very possible that in the next 24, 48 hours, we may learn that it's a health reason, for example. So we just got to be a little careful. Now, having said that, it is absolutely true that the Sunni Arab states are deeply frustrated with the United States over our policy. And fundamentally, they are more concerned, more afraid of Iran than they are of Al-Qaeda and ISIS. And they want our total support in their struggle against Iran. Iran wants to be the regional hegemonic power, and the Sunni Arab states are pushing back against us. They want our support. I think they deserve it.
What is it they want that we're not doing?
They want us to put as much pressure on the Iranians as we possibly can, right?
But they want a defense pact, and they want the F-35, which we're not going to give them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
One of the reasons you write, Mike, in the book, number one, you take us totally behind the scenes about Osama bin Laden, that you were one of the few people that knew exactly when it was going to happen and how it was going to happen. I finished this book and thought, what a badass Mike Morell is. And he just comes in here like a regular, humble sort of guy. I have to say, I was very, very impressed with all that you've done. But you say that one of the reasons you wanted to write this book was because you wanted people to understand the CIA, and we do not understand the CIA.
There are a number of myths out there about the agency. You know, one myth is kind of a Jack Ryan myth, which is we can do anything. We can discover any secret. Another myth is kind of a Maxwell Smart, everything these guys touch, right, falls apart. Yeah. And another myth is kind of the Jason Bourne myth, which is we're rogue, right? We're doing all these things without any oversight from the executive branch or Congress. All of those myths are wrong. The truth is these are incredibly dedicated people trying to do the right thing every day for the country. They get many, many things right. And like any organization, we get some things wrong.
And you talk about the things you got wrong.
Including,
What?
yeah, and I mean, it was interesting to read about, because one of the questions that many people have still is how did we get the intelligence wrong on Iraq? And it's specifically Saddam Hussein's alleged ties to al-Qaeda and weapons of mass destruction. What did we get wrong?
We got wrong the weapons of mass destruction piece. We said he has chemical weapons, he has a biological weapons production capability, and he's restarting his nuclear